that there are certain parts of our community right now that have fear. We have an obligation to keep this city safe, and I want to tell you what we're doing right now to bring that into reality. We have deployed resources across the city from both our local, regional, and state partners, and right now we're also having officers from Washington, D.C. We're incredibly thankful for the support of our partners to help us. We're deploying to critical infrastructure sites, locations that have experienced previous incidents of lawlessness, and areas where investigative efforts tell us we need to be. We will respond quickly and efficiently to incidents that take place, but again, we are hoping that we don't see any of those today. Right now, we know that a minimum of 20 of our officers have been injured during the course of the lawlessness that took place. We expect that that number might be a little bit higher, but we've had reports that our officers who sustained minor injuries did not want to come off the line, did not want to go seek medical treatment. They wanted to stay with their other law enforcement officers and continue to help protect the city of Baltimore. We know that there were 144 vehicle fires, and we know that there's one person who is in critical condition as a result of a structure fire. I would refer you to the fire department to get the total number of fires that took place last night. Right now there is a large crowd at North Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue. That crowd is peaceful, and that's what we're used to seeing in Baltimore, is a group of people that come together peacefully to express their concern, to voice their frustrations, and to do so in a peaceful manner, and we hope that that's what we continue to see. I want to remind everyone that we have a 10 o'clock curfew this evening, and that is in effect till 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we will be enforcing that curfew. I think it's very appropriate right now to thank all of the people in the community. We've received emails, text messages, messages on our social media from people across the country, across the state. In the city, we've had people bringing our officers food and water as they're out in various neighborhoods, and we want to thank them for that. We're very thankful for the show of support from our community, and I think everyone in Baltimore is looking forward to peace returning. And again, we want to extend our thanks to our regional partners, to the National Guard, to everyone that's in the city right now helping to keep us safe. With that, I'll take some questions.
Captain, some of your own officers say that there were warnings that they provided their higher-ups that they needed more help after the violence Saturday night. Why wasn't more help here before yesterday's violence?
You know, I think that there's, this is clearly what people want to talk about. I think that it's important to add a degree of context. When we deployed our officers yesterday, we were deploying for a high school event. I don't think that there's anyone in the country that would expect us to deploy automatic weapons and armored vehicles to an event with 13, 14, and 15-year-olds. That's not what people expect from their police department. What we saw that turn into yesterday was an incident that escalated in violence, and the age group of the people involved increased as well. So as of today, with our 235 arrests, we know that 34 of them are juveniles and 201 were adults. So clearly the dynamic of that situation changed. You saw us adapt our techniques throughout the day yesterday to address that situation, to address that concern, and where we are today, where we've called in support from all of our regional partners, and where we have that support and we're deploying it right now.
Are you confident that if there's a repeat of last night tonight, you're prepared as well?
What I can tell you is that we have officers that are deployed to our hotspots, that we have our regional partners and the National Guard at strategic locations and critical infrastructure, that we have the ability to respond quickly to incidents of lawlessness that take place. And again, when it's about creating context, one of the questions that we got is there's been this comparison to other locations. In other locations, the incidents have been contained to one area. What we saw last night was a group of people take advantage of a situation, of a very unfortunate situation, and use that to tear down their own neighborhoods, to destroy the businesses in their own communities. And that's a different dynamic than in other places. So our deployment today is to be able to respond to those sorts of incidents.
Like there was yesterday, there's a lot of social media talk about purges and gatherings. call out in Windsor, Mail, I believe it's called, and other locations. How seriously are you taking those? Are you looking into beefing up security in those places? Or?
You know, I think any threat that comes in right now, any bit of information is going to be examined for its credibility and for its veracity. We're going to continue to do investigative work. You know, we put out that release the other day that we had arrested the individual who had destroyed our police car. Much like that, we're going to do investigative work. We have detectives right now that are going to look through videotape for the people that were engaged in lawless activity last night, and we're going to find those people and arrest them. We're also going to be looking at various intelligence sources and various areas of information so that we can do whatever we can to mitigate future incidents.
Who's calling the shots right now? Is it Baltimore Police? Is it State Police?
The police commissioner is in the watch center right now, commanding the resources that are on the ground and directing our response to incidents. But again, right now, and what I want to say that we're very thankful for, is that we have that large group at North Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, that they're peaceful. That's the Baltimore that we're used to seeing. That's the Baltimore that we hope to continue to see throughout the rest of tonight.
Can you tell us about the curfew tonight? Just how is this in practice going?
So we know that the curfew is in effect from 10 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock in the morning. So unless you're engaged in work or you're on your way to receive medical treatment, you're not allowed to be out. Obviously, that's going to be enforced. We have a tremendous number of resources throughout the city, and we will enforce that curfew to make sure that our city stays safe throughout the night, so that we don't have the same sorts of incidents that took place yesterday.
Coming out of a restaurant at 10:10, what happens?
You know, I don't want to get into very specific situations. I don't want to speculate about what that looks like. We could come up with 100 different situations. I think there's a degree of common sense that our officers are going to employ, but at the same time, this is about making sure that the city is safe. There's a 10 o'clock curfew. We have repeatedly put out that there's a 10 o'clock curfew, so we're telling people to please stay off the streets after 10 o'clock unless you're on your way to receive either medical treatment or you're coming from work. So we've obviously received a large number of calls for service. We're going to get to all of those calls for service. We're going to investigate the incidents of crime that took place in our city. I think one of the things that we want to make clear is that we have an obligation to protect life. I'm sorry, there's a siren behind me. We have an obligation to protect life. And by protecting life, by making sure that our citizens are safe and that our officers are safe, that is how we move to protect property. That is how we move to prevent other acts of lawlessness from taking place. So we'll get to those calls for service. We will absolutely investigate the criminal acts that took place. We'll do everything that we can to make sure that we're putting resources in the right place at the right time.
We have time for one more question.
Were you just overwhelmed?
So I know that this morning we've made a total of, I think what we have right now is about a dozen arrests. We'll get more firm numbers as we move forward. It looks right now like it's 7 adults and 5 children, or 5 juveniles rather, that were arrested. We'll get the specifics on the instance of that. We're going to investigate reports of criminal activity as they take place. I think it's very important not to lump all of the criminal activity that takes place in the city into one, that this is all connected. We're going to look at the incidents as they are and then respond to them as they come in. We will be doing... Give me 1 second. We're going to make every effort to do hourly briefings from now until at least 9 o'clock tonight, so that we can continue to update you with information as we're able to get it. Justin and I will go look into that, and if we have anything more on that, I'll put that out. Thank you all very much.